and welcome to E by Gore, the distinctively Yorkshire horror movie franchise review podcast. I am Tris, and as always, I am joined by my esteemed partner in podcasting crime, Damien. Damo, how are you doing? How is the Chucky loving going?
Well, Tris, I'm doing fine, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us here today. So yeah, the Chucky show. It's fucking blowing my mind at the moment. I'm such a big fan of the Child's Play franchise, which I hope we get to do soon. I hope that comes up on the randomizer the next time we do it. I'm such a big fan, and the series is just taking all of that stuff that I love, all the weirdness, all the slashery stuff, all the Brad Dourif one can stomach, and just packed it all into this brand new, fresh take on it, and I absolutely love it. If you guys are interested in Chucky, have a look on our YouTube channel, because I'm doing these solo reviews, and I'm enjoying not having this dickhead around to shit all over.
It's great. They don't have to look at this fucking face.
It's not that. I just don't want you shitting all over my favourite stuff. Let's get your take on Chucky.
Yeah, so I did sort of like see Child's Play when I was younger and stuff like that. And let's be honest, a creepy little doll. What's not to love?
Yeah, I see. I don't get so much creeped out by him. I just think he's really funny, and he's just a great slasher, full of great one-liners and everything like that. I know he doesn't necessarily conform with your realism rule in horror, but I'm all about killer dolls running wild.
Yeah, it's just I think I watched it when I was obviously a lot younger than what I am now. I mean, I'm old as fuck, but yeah. I never kind of really got into the whole franchise thing of Chucky, and it's something I'm kind of hoping we can revisit. So I too hope it actually comes out on the randomizer, because it's massive, isn't it? It's got such a cult following and stuff like that. So I'm quite looking forward to looking at that one. But yeah, for me, I never kind of got into the franchise thing, but I've got to appreciate a creepy doll. It's weird.
It is weird.
It's weird. I know it's not real and stuff like that, but it's weird. That's good.
It is weird. Good. I'm glad you concede that. Because for
yeah, it's not all about realism. It's much about believability, and there is nothing more scary than girls have dolls. You've got teddy bears. You've got all that kind of shit. That shit coming alive, it's going to scare anybody. It's great.
Yeah, see, I think Toy Story is really a horror movie in disguise.
Yep, Buzz Lightyear, Jesus Christ, scary as hell. And Bo Peep, God, she's badass.
It's not just that. It's like when I was younger, like I was a kid when Toy Story came out. And all the other kids around me and all the other kids at school were like, oh, yeah, wouldn't it be awesome if his toys came alive? And I looked at my toy collection, and I had like soldiers with guns, and I had little Jason Voorheeses and stuff. I was like, fuck no, I don't want them to come alive.
You do not want those. You do not want them coming alive. There is a great part in Toy Story, though, isn't there? That whole creepy thing with like the little spider thing and the doll's head on. They go down a whole creep fest for part of it, which is quite creepy. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's inspired by... It's very Puppet Master. I know you've not seen it, but it's very Puppet Master. But unfortunately, Tris, this is not the Chucky podcast. You are not on one of my solo episodes, so you shall shut your fucking mouth. We're going to talk some Halloween today.
Again, do we have to?
Halloween H2O.
Yeah, I know, but do we have to?
Halloween water.
Yes.
Chris, I'm going to ask you, my friend, what is your history with Halloween H2O?
What is my history? I'm going to give the same answer as I always do. I don't really have much, but after the last episode and you're telling me all about H2O and the whole kind of return of Jamie Lee Curtis, I thought, well, for once, I'll actually do a little bit of research before I actually watch this. I kind of wish I'd not.
Why?
That's where I'm. Well, elaborate. It was the whole thing around, Jamie Lee Curtis sort of wanting to come back and do an anniversary edition. Yeah. It's kind of reinventing a story that was way in the past in this sort of this franchise. And yeah, as much as I was sort of like looking forward to watching it, because people have told me, that's going to be a good one. You'll enjoy that one. After actually doing some research on it, I'm not so sure if I'm looking at it before I watched it that I was kind of that into it.
Really? Well, I mean, coming on the back of the Cult of Thorn trilogy, I think you could be forgiven for not being so excited for the next installment.
Yeah.
So, no history with it on your side. For me,
what about you?
This is one that I saw pretty young, Halloween H2O. I'd seen the original, and then I think in my teenage years, my sister had seen this one at a sleepover or some shit, and she said, "Oh, I've seen Halloween H2O." I was like, "What? Halloween water?" Same as what you thought last week, but I was only a kid, so I'm allowed to
It's
be
a
stupid.
shit name. Let's be honest. It's a shit name.
Is it? Everyone remembers Halloween H2O though. It's like one of the most memorable
Yeah,
titles
but
in the franchise.
20 years later, let's go with H2O.
Well,
Why?
Halloween 20.
Yeah, but
What else could it
H2O.
possibly mean?
Water.
Yeah, I know. So I saw this as a teen. This was my favorite for many years. This. I preferred this to the original when I was a teenager, probably because it was a bit more modern.
I think
Um,
I can understand that. Yeah, it's definitely more modern. It's more sort of the era from sort of when you were sort of growing up. Obviously, I was still old at that point, but yeah, it's
you've been
certainly
old
more
for
with the
40
times.
years, mate.
It's definitely more with the times. I'll ignore that comment. You've got to get there. Yeah.
You see, you say it's more with the times, but you look back on it now, it is dated as fuck.
Oh
This
yeah.
movie. This is like a little time capsule for the late 90s. It really is. So let's get into it. So guys, before we get into this, give us a like, give us a subscribe. See that little bell down there? Give it a little tickle. And then we will let you know every time we release a new video, whether that be Chucky stuff or this or whatever Triss is doing. Still doing the screen?
Well, if I can actually finally manage to actually drag my ass into it, I've tried, but it's not coming
Lazy
easy. I'm not going to lie.
motherfucker.
There will be some. There will be some. But just going back to that tickling that little bell, yeah, in the edit, that's going to look brilliant. Just where your hands were and the tickling the bell, perfect, brilliant.
Tickle,
Couldn't have
tickle,
planned it better myself.
tickle, tickle, tickle.
So I guess we should do the disclaimer really, shouldn't we, before we actually start, as we always do that.
Oh yeah,
We
you
do,
do it this time. I'm sick of doing it.
yeah, we do spoilers on this show, and if you haven't seen it and you're not wanting to find out what the hell happens in the end, what carnage is about to come, just go and give it a watch. Pause it right here. Go and give it a watch. Go and give that a tickle. You
Don't
might
give that
enjoy
a
it.
tickle. No,
You
give us
never
a
know.
tickle. Give us a tickle.
What's the worst
Yeah,
that can happen?
not a lot
There you
actually. All
go.
right, so
Disclaimer done.
disclaimer done. Spoilers out of the way. Let's talk some Halloween H2O. So this was released in 1998. I'm gonna stop pretending that I don't look at my notes next to me all the time because we can't all remember shit. So I've got my iPad here, it's got my notes on.
I'm
So yeah,
old. I've got amnesia selectively.
selective amnesia. I think it's selective dementia with you, mate.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. So yeah, released in 1998, which was 3 years after the abortion that was Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, which fucking sucked, as we both agreed on last week.
It sucked massive balls, man. It was awful. It didn't fill me with much hope for this one.
No, and this one was directed by Steve Miner. Now, Steve Miner, I don't think the name will mean much to you, Tris, but for those in the know, for those initiated in horror, you will know that this is the biggest name horror director since John Carpenter.
Friday the 13th, right?
Part 2 and 3. Oh, bloody hell, he's checked Wiki. He's been on Wiki. Friday,
Indeed.
but also, yeah, Friday 13th, Part 2 and 3. Also, Lake Placid. Love me some fucking giant killer crocodiles.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Warlock. Warlock. I doubt you've seen Warlock.
No.
It's not great. Julian Sands in Warlock. He also did House, which is a great fucking, really
great series. I'm actually sort of absorbed in that at the moment.
Really?
Are we talking about the same house?
Absolutely not.
No, we're not, are we?
No, we're talking about House 1, which is sometime in the 80s. It's a really up and down series, actually, but the first one's really good. He directed that. He also did, to a much lesser critique extent, he did the remake of Day of the Dead, which is not his greatest achievement in horror. He's not on John Carpenter's level, not by a long shot, but he's definitely a very competent director, as seen in this movie. So I don't know about you, Tristan, it's a very pretty movie, this. Do you think it's shot well? It looks nice compared to the past three?
Oh, definitely. Compared to I guess, probably all of the ones. And obviously, we've moved on a lot in times. We're 20 years on, aren't we, in terms of the storyline? But things have moved on a lot. You can tell just by literally just watching it. You can tell the developments in technology and everything else. You're right; it is a very pretty movie. The angles are good. There's some very good shots in there. But man, it's still tame.
Well, we're going to talk about that because for once we actually disagree. I mean, we disagree on almost everything exclusively, but we've agreed far too much on the Halloween franchise so far.
We have. You're right.
I think that's a damnation of the Halloween franchise itself, that it's so middle of the road that we who disagree on everything still find common ground in most of the movies. So I'm hoping
I think you're right there.
I'm hoping we get some disagreement. So this
We're
movie,
going to war.
war, motherfucker.
It has begun.
This is Sheffield. Speaking of which, this is difficult.
This is like comedy gold. We've turned into a comedy podcast. That is a brew in that mug. Drinking through a straw, mate. No, that is not how you drink Yorkshire tea. That is wrong.
How else is a skeleton? How else is a skeleton to drink a cup of tea?
That is just wrong on so many levels. That is cool. No. We'll pretend we didn't see that.
Well, I'm doing Yorkshire.
As amusing as it is, that's how you drink Thai food. That's how you drink PG tips, Tetley, not Yorkshire tea, man. Grow a set.
Fuck off. That's what I said to that. Back to Halloween. So this movie's big for bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis, aka Laurie Strode, aka one of my biggest crushes when I first saw this movie. And she literally saved the franchise, as far as I'm aware. This movie, after the cult of Thorn, the curse of Michael Myers, and all the bullshit with the Thorn trilogy, Halloween was really on its arse. Like nobody really wanted to touch it, and it was going to go direct to video through Dimension, which had a massive habit of taking horror movie franchises and sticking them up their arse. Really, they did the same with Hellraiser. Now, I'm a huge Hellraiser fan, but even I can't defend some of those shitty direct-to-video ones. So they had an idea that there was going to be Michael Myers stalking a girls' school, and there was going to be a copycat killer. Basically, another police procedural, which is what every fucking direct-to-video horror was at that time. And then Jamie Lee Curtis agreed to come back, wanted to do a 20th anniversary. And
it was a bit of a chance. It's a bit of a chance, wasn't it? And a bit of a, she mentioned it in an interview, didn't she? That she would love to actually do, a 20th anniversary thing. And it sort of got born from there. It was from a bit of an idea, which came out of an interview, and literally out of nothing. There we've got Halloween, H2O.
And I think it's so cool that she came back to the franchise, because she started off as a scream queen. Obviously, she did Halloween, and then she did Prom Night, and then she did Terror Train, and she's another one she did as well. So she started off doing horror, and then she made it all the way to the top, doing Trading Places and fucking Fish Called Wanda and all the other big movies she went on. So she became a bona fide Hollywood star. So to come back...
Definitely, yeah. I mean, this was supposed to be like a thank you to the fans, wasn't it, for, sort of supporting her in those early years and giving that break that she got that took her to where she was.
Yeah, somebody who didn't want to come back and just for the fans was John Carpenter, though, because they wanted him to direct it. But he was like, guys, if you want me back on this, I want $10 million. So Dimension were like, nah.
No, fuck you.
No, fuck you. Yeah, we'll get Steve Miner. They'll do it for half the price or whatever. So, no, we weren't having none of that. So something interesting about this movie is that Kevin Williamson was heavily directed in the writing of it. For those of you who don't know who Kevin Williamson is, he was one of the writers on Scream. He did a lot of the stuff in Scream. And I think he did stuff in Dawson's Creek, which was a big show in the 90s, but I never watched.
Me neither.
But you can tell, because this movie has got Scream fingerprints all over it. What you're a fan of Scream, aren't you? What did you get that vibe from it?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Scream. I like Scream because it's so fucking stupid, and it's so ridiculous. So for me, it's watchable because I can literally sit there and go, never happened. That wouldn't happen. That's fucking stupid. But yeah, there are elements of that you can see in this, and I'm sure we'll come on to that a little bit later. I've got lots of notes on that.
Yeah, for me, this movie leans a little bit too heavy on Scream at the time. Even the score was unused music from Scream. They did obviously they had the main Halloween theme, but a lot of the music was just unused stuff that they'd had from another Scream movie. So it's
Yeah, and even at a point in this movie, Scream 2 is actually playing on the TV behind them.
oh, is it?
So
Wouldn't surprise me.
one of the Easter eggs in this movie, I have to be honest, I missed that until I actually looked it up afterwards.
No, it doesn't surprise me. I tell you who else is in this who always brings a smile to my face. LL Cool J. What a
LL Cool
legend!
J.
What a fucking legend LL Cool J is. Oh, I love LL. I love him in this. I also love him in what's the shark movie he's in? Not Jaws. The other shark
Deep Blue
movie.
Sea.
Yes, Deep
The
Blue Sea. The
worst ever shark movie, but it's incredibly
die.
watchable.
Fuck you, die, mate. There's absolutely no way. Deep Blue Sea is the worst shark movie ever made, and I'm an expert in fucking shark horror. It's not worse than Beach Sharks or House Sharks or Sharknado 3.
Yeah, so you like your B movies, your C movies, your Z movies that you like to watch. I've not seen them, so give me a break on that one. Next to Jaws, which is also equally terrible, Deep Blue Sea is but it's strangely watchable. Anything with Samuel L. Jackson, it's just going to be watchable, isn't it? I'd still watch it again.
Did you just say Jaws is shit?
Yeah, it's a robot shark. It's not real, and it's quite
Dude,
obvious a robot shark.
right, okay. Can you just tell me for a minute what your favorite horror movie is?
What my favorite horror movie is?
Let's
Ooh.
talk about realism in effects here. What's your favorite horror movie?
Yeah, but you see, you know
What's
what
your
my favorite
favorite
horror
horror
movie.
movie?
You know what my favorite horror movie is, though, and you
Dog
quite like it as
Soldiers.
well. Dog Soldiers, because it could happen. The Scottish are fucking weird, man.
Tell me about those werewolf effects. You talked to me about those werewolf. Are they better than Jaws effects?
No, they're fucking terrible.
Bearing in mind Jaws
That's
came
why
out
it's
in
fucking good.
1975 or some shit.
But Dog Soldiers is so bad on the effects side. It's good to watch. It's
I
great.
love Dog Soldiers. It's great. But this is you we're talking about. You're the one saying, "Oh no, Jaws sucks. The effects are bad," while simultaneously saying, "I fucking love this werewolf movie where the effects, where the
Yeah,
werewolves
but
just stand up."
nobody knows though if like werewolves are, do they exist? Are they real? We know sharks exist. We also know a hell of a lot about them that they don't fucking attack humans like that. They're not vindictive. They're purely
Yeah, they
primitive.
do.
They're
They
predators.
do.
They do, but by accident. They don't literally stalk. They don't
Bullshit.
hide under the waves going, ooh, there's a surfer. Let's bite him.
I tell you what, if we get the Jaws franchise next, mate, we're gonna have some fucking fisticuffs.
Absolutely. But you know what? I want that one next.
You
Bring
want
it
that
on.
one next?
Bring
We'll
it on.
see. Anyway, we digress. Speaking of
We do.
something that's shit and robotic, Josh Hartnett's fucking awful in this movie.
Oh man, I'm glad you said that because he stars as, of course, Laurie's sort of like son in this one as a very, well, shall we say, a man child of a 17-year-old,
Yeah,
and it's a very young Josh Hartnett. But God,
it's his first film. It's his
that
first film.
that haircut, that is straight out of the lockdown mum haircut. It looks like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber.
That's a '90s
It's
haircut. I
the
used to have a
it's the
haircut like
same
that when I was a
haircut,
kid,
bowl
slightly
around,
wetter.
but the thing is, it's like it's that typical bowl haircut. But if
Yeah.
you look at the fringe, it's that
Oh yeah.
staggered. That is literally wife or mum lockdown haircut. That
It's also weird that like Josh Hartnett went on to star in like Black Hawk Down, Pearl Harbor, 30 Days of Night, a good vampire flick
yeah,
that we
great
probably won't do.
films.
But you wouldn't think it based on this. He's weak as piss.
Yeah, one thing about that character as well, and this is down to sort of the writing as well. It just so happens that he was born on fucking Halloween.
Yeah,
Because that,
no.
it conveniently plays into this whole weird subplot that never goes anywhere. 3 years after, she was literally like nearly killed, and as we later find out, faked to death. She has a baby that is just so happened to be born on Halloween. They could have done so much with that story, but they didn't. It's just like a shit mess that's like dumped there. What's the point in that?
I mean, it's a basic
Why?
slasher movie. At its heart, this is a basic slasher movie. That's why I like this movie so much because you've got the Cult of Thorn trilogy really shits all over a lot of the Halloween legacy, and this one is like a sequel to Halloween 1 and 2, and it goes back to
Yeah, I
basics.
get that.
And yeah, the fact that some of the subplots don't go anywhere doesn't mean all that much to me because I think what we're left with is good. But let's get into it. So, as you guys know, we're not going to go too much blow by blow. We're just going to fucking talk about shit and see where we go. One thing that's interesting in this is the first Halloween movie not to be set in Haddonfield, obviously barring Halloween 3. This first Myers movie not to be based in Haddonfield. It's based in a school somewhere in California.
Some random school, just in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere.
So what this film wants us to believe is that Laurie Strode faked her death and became Carrie Tate, and then became the headmistress of this really posh school. I guess they weren't really much for background checks back in 1998 or whenever it was.
So she had no background, did she? She literally wiped it out. She faked her death, and now she's a headmistress of a fucking boarding school.
Yeah, and she's become this so that she can escape her brother. Now, early doors in this, so the opening to this movie, we see Marion Chambers, who was the nurse in the beginning of Halloween 1, driving with Loomis. Not really, I never remembered. I had to look it up once I'd started.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I did as well. I sort of recognised the face, but I was a bit like, where's that going? And it sort of transpires that she was also the nurse that looked after Loomis in the late years as well. And you can see Donald Pleasance, Loomis there on the desk as they're going through this whole house scenario of the burglary. Sad. So sad. So pulled at my heartstrings.
It was a Donald Pleasantless movie in the Halloween franchise. But yeah, so I think they use that because essentially what they're saying is Loomis had the files on Laurie Strode changing her name to Carrie Tate, and Michael broke into her house to get the files to find out where she were. How Michael knows that, I don't know, and why Donald Pleasance now would have had those files in his house, and why Marion Chambers would have just left them there, I don't know. That's a very implausible situation. I will concede that is a very implausible situation. Maybe Michael Myers has got his psychic connections back on that one.
Yeah, telepathic going full tilt.
Yeah. So there's a break-in, and Marion goes next door, which is a good move in a horror movie. Yeah. She doesn't do the obvious thing and go inside by herself.
First sensible person in any of a slasher movie. First sensible person. Let's go get help. But who does she enlist the help of?
2 kids.
2 fucking dickhead kids. And there's a nice nod here right at the start as well to Jason, the hockey mask.
Oh yeah. He's wearing the hockey
mask. Nice little nod there, little Easter egg.
I think he's famous. One of those kids. It's Summit Gordon Levitt. I can't remember his full name, but he's in a bunch of films that I've never watched and I'm never likely to watch either. Is one of his first roles, and he's the guy that goes in, and he goes looking around and smashes things up and makes a couple of beers out of the fridge, as we all would.
Do you know this played with me a little bit, this whole situation, because you kind of think, oh, he's going in all Billy Big Bollocks, here he goes, dickhead's gonna get fucked up. There's going to be Michael Myers hiding in a fridge or some other equally implausible situation where he finds himself in, but no. He walks out after stealing and causing havoc.
He does. Nicks a couple of beers for the road, and then they fuck off, and Marion goes inside. And even she chills for a while until she walks into a room a little bit late. I think she calls the police, and as the police arrive, she wanders into a room, only to find Kid 1 with a fucking ice skate in his head.
That's fucking beautiful. Billy Big Bollocks skate in the face. It's such a shame we did not see that on camera.
Yeah, true. I think with this movie, I think a lot of the gore is done post-kill.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to, you don't see a lot.
Yeah, and strangely enough, a couple of the best ones in this are done post-kill.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a shame. I mean, ice skate to the face, Billy Big Bollocks getting it in the mush. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm also cool. And then the other kid falls through a door, dead. I don't know how. And then she gets a throat slit, which we do see, and is a really good kill.
Yeah, we see a little bit of blood. We see a bit of trickling blood. We see, and this actually shows, the sign of the times and the effects that they can actually have since the other movies. There, the fact that they can actually do, the whole trail of blood across it, and you can see the blood. It's good kill. Pretty simple, very basic.
The entire skit is great for me. The entire intro for me is one of the best because it's kind of an entire encapsulation of the movie itself. So you've got the dickhead teenagers, you've got Michael Myers lurking, you've got the teenagers getting killed, and you've got the final girl, the mini final girl in this mini piece of film getting her throat slashed. And it's a really good, stupid kids, basic plot, really good suspense being built. Michael's creeping around. I think she even gets a few hits to him first, like the first movie, and then eventually
Yeah,
Michael wins. And it's a really good intro. It's more believable. It's more scary. Yes,
yeah,
we
it's
don't
pretty
see all the
authentic.
kills, but it's good.
Yeah, it's pretty authentic. Can't, I really can't fault it, to be honest. It's back to basics, exactly like you said.
Yeah, it's really good. So Marion's dead, and Michael now has the information that he's looking for, that we don't know how he got, because we don't know how he knew, because there's no way he could know. But he's got it, and he's on his
He's
way.
got it anyway. Let's skip over that.
He's on his way to
It's
California.
not important.
No, he's on his way to find Carrie Tate. What I would say, I think Michael in this movie is the best Michael since the first one by a
I
long,
have,
long way.
yeah, I
What's your
do
opinion on
actually.
Michael?
I do agree with that massively. He was very believable. I mean, there's a few things I'll come on to a little bit later about the
Yeah, yeah,
appearance and stuff like that. But overall, yeah, it was, yeah, he's a good Michael. He's just the way he moves and things like that. I mean, there is a lot of play on this one about the eyes, which we've not seen before. So there's a lot of intensity, a lot of focusing in on the eyes, the humanity perspective of the eyes and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't see them, dude.
me
They're
neither.
just dark and clouded
I
over,
don't,
and
I don't have
yeah.
any.
But yeah, there's some differences in Michael in this one, and yeah, he is very very good. I mean, one thing I will say before we sort of move on with the plot, the sort of the intro credits have moved in this movie from being right at the start and that long drawn out thing before anything happens. They sort of appear after that kill of the nurse and everything else. And there's kind of a nice bit about that because it doesn't matter if you've actually seen any of the first 6 movies at all. The recap that they do actually means that you can literally come into this movie without seeing any of the other ones and actually catch up. You've got an understanding of what actually happened, sort of
Yeah,
in
I
that.
agree.
Although I have to say, the dude pretending to be Loomis, why they didn't just use Loomis's voice? Why use the guy from SpongeBob, no less, the guy that voices SpongeBob, to actually pretend to be Loomis? It's a bit wet and it's a bit shit. But the whole opening credits, the whole flashing between the newspaper stuff, I did like that. And I actually thought that was a nice take because it doesn't matter, like I said, if you've actually seen the previous movies, you could pick
Yeah,
this movie up
yeah,
and
yeah.
actually figure out what was actually going on. It was like a new start, a clean slate. You can pick it up whether you've seen those from years before. And that was quite nice.
It's a very 90s horror movie trope to
Yeah,
explain plot by using newspapers. Like
yeah.
all the early 2000s and late 90s. If you wanted your plot explaining, fuck humans, fuck characters, just do flashes of newspapers. It happens in 13 Ghosts. I think the entirety of the first act is explained to you by fucking newspaper clippings. Terrible film.
And now there's no such thing as newspapers. They're all done online.
Yeah, true. So it's just flashes of people's phones scrolling through YouTube and fucking
Yeah.
Google.
Hence, Scream the series. That I will cover in a separate
Yeah,
thing.
keep eyes peeled. But yeah, going back to Michael in this one, yeah, he's played by Chris Durand. For me, the reason why I think he's the best, he's as good, he's the best one since Nick Castle in the first one, is he doesn't look clumsy. I think they focused on
Mm.
getting big guys in. Like Dick Warlock was okay in the second one, plus he had the fucking name Dick Warlock. And then you've got George P. Wilbur and the other guy in 4, 5, and 6. And he's a big guy. He's lumbering. He looks clumsy. He's almost like he's closer to Jason as a body build than he is to the original Michael. So in this one, he's probably slightly smaller than Nick Castle, but he moves well. He doesn't look clumsy. Look when he's killing, like the stabbing scene on Sarah later on in the
Yeah.
movie, it's more deliberate. He's a good Michael for me. I think the mask's all right for the main part. We'll go into that a little bit later. But they did use also the fact that it's not set in Haddonfield makes the movie feel fresh to me. It makes it feel new and a completely different vibe to the other movies we've had so far.
Yeah, it kind of breaks away from tradition in terms of the storyline, doesn't it? A little bit, but we've also got that familiarity about the kills and a few other things. But one thing that is very familiar, the outfit. Fuck me, his wardrobe must be boring as fuck. It's literally boiler suits and a fucking mask. And while we're on that subject, where the fuck does he go to get his hair cut?
It's not.
We're
It's a
20
mask.
years on and his hair is no fucking different, just a bit different coloured.
That's not his hair,
It's
you
not like it.
dipshit. It's a
It's not
mask.
like it can. But it's not like you can literally like pop down to like Meadowall or something like that, is it? And go into Barber and get your hair cut for 20 quid. He's Michael Myers, world famous
Are
serial
you having
killer.
a Carl Pilkington moment here, mate?
I am a
His
little bit.
hair, his hair is like my mask. It's all. The hair is on the mask.
I am, but it changes every time. But he can't go to a barber's. It's upsetting me.
It's just a different mask. Jesus Christ, what a dipshit.
Come
Anyway,
on.
no, I appreciate your point of view. It's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. So let's talk about Laurie before you embarrass yourself even more. So we are led to believe that Laurie is a functioning alcoholic in this one. This is how she's dealing with the trauma of
She
Michael Myers.
definitely likes to knock it back, doesn't she?
She
Definitely.
does. I don't know if I like it or not because, like, Laurie's such a strong character in the first two movies. Like, she's the final girl. She's like the epitome of good. And in this movie, they kind of, as much as I love what happens later in the movie, she's almost a little bit disheveled. She's really overprotective of Josh Hartnett. Fuck knows why. If there's one kid you wouldn't mind losing, it'd be Josh Hartnett.
Oh,
But
and he definitely gives us some lip. You know, back in my day, they got a fucking belt round face.
1922.
1923, you'd have got a belt for that. But yeah, I mean, she's sort of introduced, isn't she, in this one as, you can tell she's clearly got some issues. She's clearly struggling with what happened 20 years ago. And she is set up as more of a fragile character than what we remember her as before.
Yeah, and she's really clingy to Josh Hartnett. And what's so fucking great about Yosemite? Like, he's really keen to go to. I don't know what it is or where it is.
I have no idea. It
I
just
don't.
sounds like booze, drugs, sex. I'm
I
going to put
don't.
it down to that. What
Yeah.
17-year-old wouldn't want that?
No, but that is actually a nice little lead on because all these kid characters in this movie have got literally two traits or two goals in their life and nothing. They want to drink and party, and they want to
And
fuck.
they want to fuck.
That's it. There's no,
That's it.
there's literally no other scene where they want to do anything other than drink or fuck. They want to go to Yosemite to drink and fuck. They want to stay there, so they've got the entire school grounds to themselves, so they can drink and fuck
Yeah,
and have a
there's
romance.
no depth in these characters, that's for sure. Just picking up on that, Molly, I think it is the love interest of
Yeah,
Laurie's son. She reminds me so much of one of my exes. So at that point when I saw that, I was literally like, she's the spitting image. I hope she meets a horrible end. Maybe she likes to get set on fire or something like that, and then somebody tries to put her out with petrol, just so I can have my own emotional win.
dude, chill. It's probably been 15 years.
We're longer than that.
Right. Wow, there's a grudge. There's a grudge going on. Fair play to you. Fair
I
play
was
to you.
hurt, man. I was hurt.
She actually suffers a fate worse than death in movie terms, anyway. But we'll talk about that later. So, but
Yep.
the other kids, there's Sarah and there's Charlie. And Charlie, he's like that nerdy kid that you get at school who's like always part of your friend group, who's always saying really weird shit to do. Like Charlie says, we can have a roaming orgy. I don't know what a roaming orgy is. I know what a Roman orgy is. I don't know what a roaming orgy. It must be all I can imagine is it must be very tiring and very messy.
I don't know. Maybe we should ring up like La Chambre or City Sauna for those of people not from Sheffield. They are like weird sex swingers clubs and weird sex saunas.
I wouldn't know.
Liar.
I really wouldn't.
You've seen the documentary. Come on.
I have seen the custard.
The custard. That's all you need to know.
The custard.
That is going to generate so many questions.
Yeah. Just don't look at it, guys. You don't need
Yeah. Do not Google that shit.
But yeah, Charlie. The thing is with these characters, though, these kids, is they're about as zero-dimensional as the characters in 4 and 5 and 6.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they're less annoying. than the characters in 4, 5, and 6. Like they've got a little bit of a charm in their charmlessness that I really think's all right. Like you don't know much about them, you don't know anything. From the very second you see these characters, you're like, you're going to be dead. We know you're going to. It's just a case of which order you're going to be dead in.
Collateral. They are just purely collateral damage.
Yeah, I would say all three of the others are still better than Josh Hartnett in this movie.
You're not wrong. You're
I'll
not
tell you
wrong.
who else I've got a problem with in this movie. So what's his fucking name? Adam Arkin. So Laurie's counselor fuckboy. Did you recognize him?
I didn't recognize him, but he's pretty tame. I get what you mean. I don't recognize what he's from, but I know what you mean about having an issue with him.
I don't like him for a few reasons. I like him as a bad guy, and he plays Ethan Zabel in Sons of Anarchy. Do you know the leader of the white supremacists?
Really?
Do you know the leader of the white supremacist who owns that cigar shop? In
I do. I
season
never
2?
picked it up. Never
Yeah,
picked it up.
that's where I know
Wow.
him from. Anyway, he's done a lot of other TV stuff as well. But I loved him in Sons of Anarchy because he's very smarmy and he's got a really good bad guy vibe about him.
Yeah.
Plus, he played a white supremacist, so maybe that's why I fucking hate him. And in this movie, he's like a good guy. Well, sort of a good guy up until midway through the movie. But yeah, I don't really buy him. He's kind of smarmy, and I can't buy him as a good guy. Plus, like, he kisses like a fucking pissed up teenager at a house party. Like I know he's clearly punching above his weight when he's kissing Jamie Lee Curtis, but he's fully mouth open, tongue out. It's disgusting. It's like he's trying to eat Jamie Lee's face.
Yeah, but then she kind of gets her own back, doesn't she, at that point where she's literally like, they're just about to get down for some good old like make out loving. It's getting a little bit hot and a little bit steamy. And right there, she decides, I'm just going to lay it all out on you. I'm just going to tell you, I am the sister of a serial killer that everybody knows. I fake my own death. I'm fake as fuck.
True,
Nothing is hot. Nothing turns a man on more than that.
True, but to say he's a counselor is really shit at listening because as he's pouring it out, he's like, yeah, don't give a fuck. Just take your clothes off. Like, he literally everything that they do.
One thought.
Yeah, it is. That's what almost every character in this movie, except for Jamie, and except for Michael, just want to fuck.
Yeah, want
That's
to
it.
Do some drink, do some drugs, just want to fuck.
Exactly, and even LL Cool J, because he's writing erotic novels as a part-time job.
Do you know what? This is one of my big sort of like bugbears as a character. I mean, don't get me wrong, love LL Cool J, but he's very much a comedy sort of security guard in this, isn't he? He's very much the stupid ass security guard, sort of in this. And it's kind of nice. We get a little build of his character, with his whole romantic, erotic sort of fiction, as he calls it, while he's reciting it to his good lady who's back at home thinking it's a load of shit. Clearly not watching the gate, by the way. But as we see a little bit later, which I'm sure we'll talk about, he's fucking stupid.
Heaving watermelons.
Heaving melons.
I think
they didn't specify though, did they? What type of melons?
Yeah, true. Oh yeah, cantaloupe.
His missus was like, are they like cantaloupe? Are they honeydew? Are they watermelons? We need more information.
Yeah, true that. I actually think LL Cool J is probably the best character outside of Laurie Strode.
That's the thing. It's a fucking stupid character, but yeah, you're right. We build up some sort of like background. We build up some some history there, something about his character. He's got some substance. A lot of the others have nothing.
Yeah, so we know he's a job as a security guard. We know he's got a hobby. Literally, we know he's got a wife who supports him, but probably rolls her eyes when he's writing this stuff. A bit like my missus rolls her eyes about this podcast. But he also, he also puts himself on the line when he's trying to help the characters down. So he's got a lot going on for him. He was massive in the 90s, I think, LL Cool J, and they had like this this sort of theme of putting rappers in movies at that time, horror movies. They had Busta Rhymes in Resurrection, and they had Snoop Dogg was in a movie called Bones, a horror movie. I think that was even 90s or early 2000s. And fucking Ice motherfucking T was in Leprechaun 5, in Leprechaun in the Hood. Ah, what about, you like iced tea? What's your vibe on iced tea?
I quite like iced tea. Peach iced tea, very nice.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I had a big iced tea phase. I used to watch him on Law and Order SVU, and obviously I'd seen
Bloody
him in
hell.
Leprechaun 5. So, and I like, he was in a band called Body Count. Still is in a band called Body Count. They're like this post-hardcore punky type band within singing. They're fucking awesome, actually. And then I started listening to his rap, Ryan Pay's original fucking gangster rap album. Man, I had a big Ice T phase. Man, I wish we were doing Leprechaun 5.
You never know. It could go in. You never know.
He plays
The
he plays a
randomizer. Who knows?
he plays a pimp. He's fucking cool. But yeah, so LL Cool J is one of my favorite characters in the movie. Unlike, you still there?
And would you look at that? We swap sides. How
We
random.
swapped sides. Technical difficulties beyond. So yeah, so LL Cool J's got depth, unlike Jake and Will, who have got jack shit going up. I mean, the only reason they sneak out of the school is to buy booze so that they can go fuck later on.
Yeah, but they managed to actually, they managed to persuade him to, forget he's opened the gate and just let him out again.
Yeah, he's
Stupid
got a
ass.
soft side. LL Cool J's got a soft side to him.
He's a
More depth
dick.
to the
He's
character.
stupid.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so they all go out. All the kids go to Yosemite. There's this little scene where Laurie decides to let Josh Hartnett go to Yosemite, but they end up not going anyway and staying behind. And this clears the entire school out, ready for the massacre to begin.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think at this stage, maybe Michael is just a fucking genius and he's got a really good way of like segregating everybody and isolating everybody into particular points. But it's actually down to the fact that most of the characters in this movie are fucking stupid. This is one of the problems I have with horrors. I always talk about to you and say,
Yeah.
realism, all that kind of stuff. It's not about being ultimately realistic. It's just that nobody in any of these films has any fucking common sense whatsoever fucking ever. They literally trip over a fucking blade of grass or they trip over a worm so that they can be killed. And that is replicated in this movie. It is typical slasher. And you mentioned earlier about Scream. That's one of the big bugbears I have about Scream, in that everybody in that fucking movie is fucking stupid. They're all fucking bonkers. Hence the reason the Scary Movie, which rips the piss out of that whole franchise and the whole idiocy of it, that's kind of filtered into this one. Sorry, I'm getting on my high horse a little bit about the stupidity of people, but perfectly demonstrated by LL Cool J and his character. Random, weird, creepy ass truck pulls up at the gate, nobody in it. You're a security guard. I know. Let's just open the gate, go and have a closer look. Let's do it. There you go. Bang. Mike is inside. It's all his fault. Whole thing, his fault.
Well, let me fucking put you right on this. First of all, I think you need to rewatch Scream if that's your opinions on it, because Scream was one of the first meta horror movies. So your entire argument's bullshit on Scream. I think you need to rewatch it.
I've seen it many times. I stand by it.
Well, you bullshit then. You don't understand. Anyway,
I don't understand.
You don't understand. Well, you genuinely don't understand Scream if that's your opinion on it. But yeah. So you expect characters to be stupid in slasher movies. That's like the whole point. It's about seeing stupid people getting killed. That's the whole fun of slasher movies. So Michael's got to get in somehow. So he sneaks in. He always does. And it sets up a really good final. Like, it's been a really slow burn up. I know we've sort of whizzed through it, but it's been like a really slow burn.
It has been I think we literally got to halfway within this movie before there was any really. I mean, there'd been sort of like the two kills at the start, but then a hell of a lot of suspense building. Nothing really happening. You're right. It was a fucking slow burn. It really was.
And then we get
lot of question setting.
Then we get his question answered. Who dies first? Will. No, Charlie. Charlie dies first, doesn't he?
It has been. It's still. Do you know what? Slasher villains like Michael Myers are only ever as good as the fucking idiots that enable them.
True. Yeah. Yeah. He goes down in the dumbwaiter, doesn't he?
It does. It's stupid. Do you know
But
what I was trying to think? I was trying to think what that thing was called. I'm like,
yeah,
Lazy Susan. No, that's the spinny thing. It's a lift.
it's a lift. But that's something like we would totally have done that at school. Like if we was alone in school and our school had a dumbwaiter, we would have fucking gone down in it. Like you say
Oh
it's
hell yeah.
stupid. You say it's stupid, but kids are fucking stupid.
Hell yeah, we would.
You
But there
say
wasn't
that
a serial,
I
wasn't a serial
yeah.
killer on the loose.
And they're not to know that. We wouldn't have known that if it were. And it's the same as like me saying that these guys just want to drink, party, and fuck. That's literally all I wanted to do when I was a teenager. So maybe they're onto something.
Maybe, you never know. Trend
So
setting.
he dies first. Just he goes down in the dumbwaiter. We don't see it. It's off screen again. But Sarah comes downstairs, and he's got his throat slit. Again, good gore scene on the post kill.
It was quite good before that as well when they focused creatively on the corkscrew.
Yeah.
And then the way that the wound was like jagged, you just knew he'd done it with a corkscrew. Yeah, kudos to that.
Yeah, he did. It's also 3 out of the first 4 kills in this movie are all done off screen, yet they're all really memorable. Well, no, they're not all. The ice skate one and the dumbwaiter one are both quite memorable to say that they were done off screen. And then Sarah, she has a really bad time of things, doesn't she? She sees Myers, she runs into the dumbwaiter, she gets sliced with on her way up the dumbwaiter, and then somehow manages to leave a leg inside whilst trying to get Charlie out of the lift. And then
as it comes slamming down.
Yeah, another good gore effect on the leg, though.
Another good gore effect, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, obviously, she's alive, so it's we actually see that point. This is kind of a good bit of gore.
It is, and then Michael teleports upstairs as he does, and then stabs the shit out of her after stomping on her neck with his big size 10 Docker boot.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've sort of seen, the whole gore of the leg thing, but then the actual kill as such is actually done off camera, isn't it? We see the stabbing effect and we see a little bit of blood on the knife, but we don't see the actual stabbing effect. But then comes the aftermath in the next bit of the scene, as as the sort of moving along sort of like the school, and then she's hung to a fucking light fitting from her head. It's fucking so sparks and everything. Yeah, beautiful.
I like it. Michael's still got that creative side to him, hasn't he, with his kills?
Yeah.
He still likes his little collages of dead bodies.
Yeah, that I have to be honest, is my favorite one in this movie. The creativity for literally, ripping the light bulb out, wrapping the cord around the neck and going, hey, here we go. And then perfect timing. It's about the timing. It's important.
It's really
and then
good.
The pyrotechnics, sparks.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then they run around for a while, and Molly and John end up bumping into Uncle Mikey, and they run around, and they eventually get to that door and pull the gate across. And that's where Laurie has one of the best scenes. I know it's only short, but it's so cool when she's looking at him, Michael, through the window, and he's like staring her out through the gate, and they get fucking Hartnett and assorted girlfriend out of the thing, and it's just a really cool.
Just after Mikey had turned into like the shittest slasher ever again. Like, here we go, just randomly slash. Don't hit anything. Okay, just enough out of reach.
Just enough out of reach. See, if that were George P.
Stretched a bit further.
Yeah, if this was George P. Wilbur in Halloween 6, he'd have just fucking been able to reach by now because he was huge. But things do get a bit too real, I think, because they're all running around inside eventually, and then fucking fuckboy Adam Arkin, Laurie's fuckboy, shoots LL Cool J just out of nowhere, doesn't he?
Yeah, but we kind of think it's Mike, though, don't we? We think he actually gets shot 6 times again. It's a nice nod.
He does, but black guys can't catch a break in slasher movies, can they? And if it's not a slasher killer, it's a fucking dopey ass white guy shooting before looking.
He literally gets put down 6 times.
But he does get what's coming to him, the fuckboy. And I think he deserves his... I mean, I know he's positioned as a good guy, but I think he's a dick to Laurie. And there's that whole creepy scene where he's talking to the girls. It's like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're just going to roofie some guys, have a big date rapey night. And he's like, cool. Have a good one. Have a good one, girls. Like, I think if I'd heard some teenage girls say, even if they were joking, I'd probably be like, yeah, you need to see someone about this. But, so he deserves his death. And then Michael does a call back to Halloween 2, doesn't he? And he fucking thrusts his weapon into the back of Adam Arkin and lifts him off the ground.
Yeah, literally lifts him off the ground. The strength that must take. And we see his strength coming into its own as well. You know, he gets whacked over the head with a fire extinguisher, which is way too light considering they are. Then, have you ever tried lifting one of them things? They're ridiculously heavy, but she picks it up with ease and like drops it over his head, and it bounces on the floor like a plastic one. It's well done.
It's still good. It's good suspense, and it's a cool little nod to the earlier Halloween movies, which I really liked.
Do you know what? Actually, at that scene, you know where he actually lifts him, he like plunges the knife in and lifts him up. There was a point where we actually catch Mikey, and I cannot get Barry Manilow out of my head. He just looks like a slightly paler, yellowy-haired version of Barry Manilow. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Is that
Trust me, you cannot unsee it.
Is that the CGI? Because we used 4 masks for this, and one of them in one scene was CGI, and it looks fucking like, I think the mask. There's two that look alright, and then there's one is a CGI one which looks like shit, and the other one is the one where you can really see his eyes. You know, it's really tight to his head, and you can see like the underneath of his. I think that looks shit as well.
Because there was also one point as well, weren't they, where he was actually wearing the mask from Halloween 6. Because they were having this whole debate around what the actual mask should look like and, you know, which one would work. And I think he was overruled and they ended up going with something different. But I think it is a CGI one, and it looks like Barry Manilow. Once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. And that is who you will see all the time. Yeah. Creepy Barry Manilow.
Oh, Mikey, you came and you gave without taking, but I snatched you away. I can't write lyrics either. Can't sing, can't write lyrics. Could write horror movie characters. But you know the funny thing at this point, it's almost like we've talked a lot of shit about Josh Hartnett and the other characters, but it's almost like the plot realizes that Josh Hartnett is fucking useless in this movie, because like Jamie Lee just packs him off in a car and tells him to get to fuck and just tells him to drive away. And
that's a really weird thing, especially considering that, you know, we had this whole build up about, you know, the whole Laurie and Michael thing and he's chasing him, but then she just randomly goes, yeah, you two, fuck off. I'm going to open the gate, I'm going to stay behind, and, you know, I'm just going to send you off in a car. Fuck off, don't come back. When you fuck off, when you get there, fuck off some more.
You're like, get to fuck. I've got enough star power to carry the rest of this movie by myself.
That's pretty much what she does.
Down, take your future career and get to fuck.
Bugger off to Pearl Harbor, don't come back.
Yeah, like most of them didn't. But yeah, at this stage, this is where, because I've enjoyed this movie so far up to this point, and when Josh Hartnett fucks off, like, and the gates close, we know that shit's going down. We know that it's climax time. And it's a big showdown.
It sets the scene, doesn't it, for, you know, like final scenes. And we've had this coming throughout the whole movie. It has to be. It's literally the Laurie and Michael final showdown. You know, it's coming from that point. It just sets it perfectly. It's kind of, it's the closing curtain. It's setting it into its thing. It's some very good sort of dramatic imagery that does that, you know, aside from it being a lot of fucking jokes in it and stuff like that. But that bit, it does close it off cinematically. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. And they go into the school, and there's a lot of like hunting scenes. You know, like Mikey stalks her, she stalks Mikey. They get into a few scuffles. Furniture is thrown. There is shit going down, and she manages to stab him and throw him off a balcony, a la Halloween 1.
Yeah, just before that. I mean, yeah, of course, balconies are pretty much Mikey's kryptonite. We're discovering that. He gets thrown off a lot of shit.
And really small knitting needles.
But when they're going through, yeah, definitely. But when they're actually going through the school, there's this scene where she like disappears and like walks down the corridor. And the next thing we see is him lowering himself down with his left hand.
Yeah.
Super strength gymnast style. How the fuck did she miss him?
Dude works out.
None of these people ever look up. It's a white hallway. He's wearing a dark blue boiler suit.
Just perching like a little fucking spider on the roof.
And then literally lowers himself down nice and gently with one hand. Like, the guy's got form. He's got super strength. Pretty.
Yeah. Dude, he definitely
amazing.
Lifts. He definitely
but yeah, lifts. Then he literally gets fucked off a balcony again after getting stabbed by a flagpole. And we actually see some blood in this one as well.
Yeah, we
When he
do.
gets stabbed in the flagpole, we do see a little bit of blood, which we haven't seen in some
Mikey
of the others. So
fucking bleeds.
he does actually bleed, but yeah, he gets fucked off the balcony, and then she ends up walking down there, and well, you can see it
Well,
coming,
no,
can't you?
before she walks down, LL Cool J is alive. He's not
He
dead.
is, yeah,
He's not dead.
randomly
He
got shot
survived.
6 times, but he's randomly alive and tries to
Which is,
usher her away from, like finishing the job off.
yeah, which is good. I like to see LL Cool J not die. You just don't kill LL Cool
That's
J in
good, but
horror movies.
he's Mikey. Finish the job there and
Yeah,
then. Do
yeah.
it. Finish
Kill him
finish
till
him
he's
off.
fucking dead.
But no, in Jiminy Cricket style, come here. There's more.
Yeah, true.
You've got no idea who that is, have you?
Who?
Jiminy Cricket.
I know Jiminy Cricket is a dickhead. I've got kids. That's it, Pinocchio.
Not that one. The
Who do you
comedian
think
Jiminy
then?
Cricket. Oh,
Who's
so
it?
old. I am so old.
Jiminy Cricket's a comedian. What does he do? Who is he? Where's he from?
Well, that we shall find out. We're going to look that up.
I don't want to look it up. I want you to tell me.
I'm going to insert a nice little video clip of Jiminy Cricket in there. Just right here. Perfect.
Sounds awful, to be fair. I thought it was a Disney character you were talking about. I'm massively let down. Speaking of which, so Laurie steals the ambulance that Michael's in and just bombs out the gate and eventually crashes the ambulance, as you do, because it's the climax of a horror movie.
You can also see it, can't you, as well? The constant looks behind me. You just know he's not being killed by mine shafts or explosions or anything else. Pretty sure he's not going to be dead right now.
True that. And he gets pinned between a tree and an ambulance, which probably would have
after he's got
him.
tanked out the windscreen and then rammed off a cliff.
Yeah. And then in one of
he's
my
not having a good time of it right now, Mikey.
He's not even he's been dealt a bad hand in this movie. But in one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise, Laurie picks up an axe, a hatchet, if you would, and
it's been conveniently placed a few times, that fire axe, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. Yeah, it just.
And I like how she puts it into the van with the blood on it, takes it out of the van with no blood. Beautiful. It cleans itself, self-cleaning.
It's a great shot though to take his head off, like a really clean shot.
Yeah, but before that, what are your thoughts on the whole, sort of the whole Michael looking at her looking at him, the connection that they have, and then the whole, you can clearly see he's fucked it right now. He's not getting out of that situation. But then they have this whole reaching out of hands thing and this very light touch, and then she thinks better of it and fucking whips his head off. What are your thoughts on that little bit beforehand?
I like it. I'm not a big fan of the brother-sister story, as you know, but I think Jamie Lee Curtis has got enough acting chops to pull this off and make it feel a bit more sentimental than it really is. I've got
I agree. It's definitely better than what we had in the last movie when they tried to humanize him with certain elements with Jamie and stuff like that. This one is very much more final. It's an appreciation of him sort of like saying, "I'm fucked now," and her saying, "Yeah, you're my brother, but now I'm going to lop your fucking head off."
Yeah, but it's a really good character arc. I'm not sure how we feel too much about her being an alcoholic in this movie or some of the habits and some of the characteristics she's been given. But I think such is the quality of Jamie Lee Curtis that she makes it believable and relatable. And to come
I think they had to give her a crutch. I think they had to give her some kind of a crutch, and I think they went for the most common one with the whole alcohol dependency thing that helps her get through in times of struggle and stuff like that. But she kind of comes full circle in this movie as well, doesn't she? In the fact that right at the start, she's scared, she's still looking over her shoulder, she's seeing Michael in reflections and everything else. She's clearly haunted by it, to the point where she gets and says, "Do you know what? No, I'm actually gonna stand up for once. I'm not scared anymore.
Fuck you, Michael.
You failed. Bugger you." Off goes his head. End of Michael Myers. There surely cannot be any comeback from that. We will see.
Surely not.
Surely not. Never. They're not going to do that.
Although the next movie is called Resurrection.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yes. Well, let's wait that for next week. So that is Halloween H2O. Now, for me, I'm not going to go into the ratings phase just yet, but for me, this feels like a Scream movie. There's so much fingerprints of Scream all over this. You can tell in the writing and in the dialogue. you could have lifted those characters out of the Scream movie, the kid characters. It's got a lot of comedy, sort of comedy early doors. There's a lot of sort of funny scenes going on. It's the 90s, so it's definitely Halloween does Scream for me. I don't know if you got those same sort of vibes from this movie.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly vibes of that in there. I mean, for me, this whole movie as a whole kind of feels a little bit like a final chapter, if you like. It sort of feels like it's trying to end some of the unanswered questions that we had before. What happened to Laurie,
Yeah,
putting that whole sort of saga to bed. Around that connection there that they had, and we kind of, like I said before, we kind of see Laurie come full circle from those first movies where she was the victim to actually getting a vengeance and actually ending it in the way that she did. And yeah, there's definitely improvements in this movie to a lot of the other ones,
I'm glad they
not just
ignored the
from the.
Thorn trilogy. Like
Yeah,
this is a
yeah,
direct sequel
absolutely.
to Halloween 2. Like, but that being said, there are theorists out there that say this could exist in the same timeline as Halloween 4, 5, and 6 because they say that she died in a car crash at the end, the beginning of Halloween 4, and here she is having faked her death to move across country. Although the problem with that is you're basically saying Laurie Strode abandoned her daughter, Jamie, and started everything else. But there are people out there that say this could exist in the same timeline. But I choose to believe it's a direct sequel to Halloween 2.
Yeah, I think it's sort of, I know there's sort of like mentions in there about why has he waited so long to, try and track her down and stuff like that. But I prefer to think as you do, that it is actually, a sequel to the one and two, and it's a follow on from that, ignoring all the rest of the shit that's actually gone on between, ignoring the terrible movies that happened between that as well. And it's kind of, it's nice, it's familiar, it goes back to basics in a lot of the way that they've
Yeah,
actually,
yeah, it
shot the
really does.
kills, the anticipation, the slow build up as they go throughout them. We literally get to halfway sort of through the movie before we start getting into the main action part of it. There's a lot of build up, a lot of suspense, and it feels homely, if you like, to those first couple of movies, which are more iconic than the ones that followed for me. And yeah,
Yeah.
I can't say I didn't enjoy it. It held my attention. I
Well,
quite
we're
liked it.
losing gore. We gain in suspense in this movie.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more focus on that build up, like the first movie. And the second movie to a large extent as well. There's a lot of suspense built, and the gore, as we've talked about, is also sort of post kill for the large majority, and it works really well, I think, for this film.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kills overall as a movie across the whole movie, it's pretty tame in that respect. There's not a lot of them, but the ones that they do, and they are done off camera, are
Doo-doo.
shown after the events quite well with that gore as sort of attain to there. So yeah, can't say I didn't enjoy it. I did. It's quite good,
So,
watchable.
Chris, let's wrap a fucking bow on this movie. Give us your
Wrap a
final
bow on it.
thoughts and rating.
My final thoughts. So I think this was, considering it was set so long after the original two, there are some holes in it. There are some
Never.
unanswered questions, but I quite like the fact that they brought, Laurie back into the story. They've actually managed to put a bow on it themselves, essentially, if you think about it,
Yep.
ignoring what comes next. They've actually put a bow on the story. They've managed to finish the business that was previously unfinished. There's some nice kills in there. It's not all action, nice suspense as well. Overall, I'm actually going to give this a 7 dead bodies in a dumbwaiter out of 10. Quite enjoyed it, not going to lie.
Decent. Big score, big improvement. Okay, so let me give my rating. So I think this is a massive return to form for the series. I think
Agree.
4, 5, and 6. 5 I don't mind too much, but 4 and 6 especially, I think are really bad movies. Not interested in the slightest. Now this one's much slower paced. There's a lot more suspense involved with it, and there's far less gore, but far more emphasis on waiting and that feeling of something's going to happen, and then getting that goal posting. And I don't mind tamer kills as long as you're giving me something else to focus on, which is suspense. And I think Halloween H2O does that in a really good way. And I think the characters, they're very two-dimensional, they're very basic, they're standard slashers, but they're not unlikable. which which is a problem with a lot of the other characters in some of the other movies. I'm thinking of fucking Spitz in Halloween 5. What an asshole. Really unlikable, really annoying. But these characters all seemed okay. I liked Michael I think the guy who played Michael was really good. Having Jamie Lee Curtis is like a breath of fresh air. The star power and the quality of the acting doesn't replace Donald Pleasance, but certainly fills a gap where there is no Donald Pleasance in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it does lose a little bit from not having that maniac Michael tracker like Loomis and like Paul Rudd was meant to be, going forward from 6 onwards. But like I say, I think Jamie Lee and LL Cool J to an extent, I thought he did a great job in his role. So I love this movie. I loved it the first time I watched it. I love it now. And I'm going to give it 8 shitty CGI masks out of 10. It's good. I enjoy it. I go back to it very often.
Yeah, I think you made, sort of quite a good point there. I think, sort of elaborating on that, I think the kills which actually happened in this movie, they were all important. So they were all definitive. They weren't pointless. There was a point to each of them, and they actually saved the kills up for important points within the movie, about that whole segregation, separating people out. They built the suspense there, and that was something that they didn't do in the few movies before that. There were movies which were just pointless. They were just for the sake of it, the kill moments and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this actually has to be my favorite one of the franchise so far.
Really? Wow. High praise indeed. I thought we were going to disagree on some of these, but apparently not. Apparently the Halloween franchise is so... I think it's either Halloween franchise is so middle of the road, or you are more of a horror fan than you've been letting on.
A new appreciation, shall we say, but I still think they're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I can't overlook the stupidity.
Well, most slasher movies are, but that's why you watch them, dipshit. So, one thing we did miss out, Tris, well, it would be remiss of me not to mention, but last week we did Halloween 6, Paul Rudd movie. And obviously, Paul Rudd, since we recorded that, has won Sexiest Man Alive in some sort of magazine. Somebody mentioned it on YouTube in one of the comments that we didn't mention Paul Rudd's Sexiest Man Alive award.
Sexiest Man Alive in the B magazine category of something or other.
It's in the main one.
I must have missed that. The only sort of like Sexiest Alive thing I ever followed was FHM, which isn't a thing anymore.
No, he's a good-looking guy. It's Ant-Man. He's got a lot going for him. He's fucking old now. He must be in his 50s.
Okay, literally, I sort of own. I think we touched on it last time. I really only sort of like remember him from Friends as Mike, and then sort of like the Ant-Man movies. They were sort of the big things that I remember. I couldn't tell you much that he's done recently, but then again, I'm not so much into my modern stuff.
So, what we want to say, Paul Rudd, from E by Gore to you, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You sexy bastard.
You sexy bugger. Bastard. Best way to say sexy bastard.
I'll tell you what's not sexy, Tris. What are we doing next week?
What we're doing next week? I think it'd be wrong not to do the resurrection, wouldn't it? Let's see how they are actually going to do.
Would it be?
How are they going to sew? How are they going to sew the head back on? How's that going to work?
I have some thoughts on Halloween Resurrection, which I will get into with you next week. But
I'm sure we will.
For another time. So, guys, thank you for checking this out. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share, give us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you do not want to watch us on YouTube and you want to skip out all the all the knows, and all the extra bits we fucking fuck up on, get the edited supercut from where? That'd be cut from Spotify and from Apple Podcasts and from Amazon and from Google and from anywhere else you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to give us a like, give us a share, and come back and join us next week where we will be looking at Halloween Resurrection, the 8th movie in the franchise.
Absolutely.
Did all that in one breath. Fucking racking that. Right. I'm going to go and get another brew. So it's good night from me. I'm Damien.
It's good night from me. I am Tris, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.